El futuro será mejor porque no soy un perdedor. El futuro será mejor porque no soy un perdedor. Siempre voy a ser fácil, independiente. Siempre voy a ser fácil, independiente. El futuro será mejor porque no soy un perdedor.
Hola, amigos. This is Dr. Rebecca Dominguez Karimi, presenting highlights from the Treasures from Aztlan Oral History collection. This project features the voices of Mexican Americans across the U.S., and you'll hear them tell their tales of what life was like growing up during the pre-civil rights era from 1930 to 1965. Listen now to our narrator, Abby Ratcliffe.
Well, I remember, of course, living with a big family, 7 brothers and sisters, total of 9. And we were always happy. We always had what we expected. We never felt poor, even though we probably were. But there was always food on the table, and we had a happy childhood. I remember going to birthday parties. We never had a birthday party myself. Never. Until I was a grown married lady. My husband gave me a surprise birthday party, and that was my first birthday party. But that was okay. We were invited to other parties.
What do you remember about growing up as a Hispanic?
Well, there was a lot of prejudice when we were growing up. We couldn't go to certain restaurants, but we really, as far as I remember, we never tried. I didn't really experience being told, no, you cannot eat here, or you're not allowed here, because we never went. We only heard about it. The only areas that I remember, like going to Landa Park in New Braunfels, where we really could not even go in there. And then in the theaters, of course, we knew that, well, Hispanics were allowed to go where the whites went, but it was the blacks that had to sit up in the upper balconies. But then this is not Hispanic. That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And in school, most of us were Hispanic, so I didn't experience any racial events.
Did you go to school, did you start school speaking English or Spanish? Did you know?
Spanish, some English, very little, but mostly Spanish. And I learned it in school. And that was a drawback.
How so?
Well, I think I failed one grade because of not understanding English very well.
Listen now to our narrator, Minerva Mendoza.
I remember one problem in high school when we graduated from Harris Junior High. I always thought I would be going to Breckenridge because it was closer to my house. And then they used to put our schedule on the bulletin board. So mine said I had to go to Burbank. Let's go to Breckenridge. So we went, and we went to the dean's office. I told them I can't go to Burbank. They have me on schedule that I need to go. That's where I'm supposed to go. I said, but I'm not going to Burbank. It's too far from me. Breckenridge is closer to me. And the principal, it was a woman, I think she didn't like the Hispanics. And I remember she didn't tell me because we were Hispanics that we couldn't go. But she did insist that we couldn't go. And I said, why can't I go? Why can't I come here? She just kept stalling, or, she didn't know what else to tell me. And I said, well, I'm not going over there to Burbank. And tell me why we can't go. Come to Breckenridge. And she insisted, and I was very stubborn. I said, I'm not going to Burbank. I said, I'm going to come to Breckenridge because Burbank is too far. So finally, I don't know who she talked to, but then she said, okay. you can come to Breckenridge. And then I think back, and maybe because I was Hispanic, but she never said anything. Or
Let me ask you this question. How many Hispanics were at Brackenridge at that time?
they were counted, maybe 10, maybe 10. And I just felt that I had to say everything I did because I had a right. I think I did the right thing. I felt it's a public school. Anybody can come. We don't have to pay because the government pays. It's for everybody. So why should we be deprived to learn? That's what we're here for. We're here to learn. My mother's not sending us here to play around or to see what color are you. And we were here to learn. No matter what color is sitting next to me, we're going to learn. Because I felt, well, I have a right to learn and to go to a school I want. I'm an American. We're here to learn. We're here to learn, and it doesn't matter what color I am. If you think I'm too dark, what's the difference? I'm going to learn just like anybody else is. So I'm going to come to Breckenridge. I'm an American.
Listen now to our narrator,
Margarita Montaña.
Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Just say a friend.
I won't be around when this thing. Well, talking about discrimination, there was discrimination. Of course, it's it wasn't until after I grew up and I thought about the blacks being discriminated against the Mexicans, and then the Anglos also being discriminated against the Mexicans as well. And I'll never forget the first experience that I ever had where I really got angry and I spoke up, because at that time when you rode the buses, you always had to go. The blacks had to sit in the back, and then were allowed to sit with the Anglos, So we, at that point, they weren't discriminating against us, but they were against the blacks. But I'll never forget one day I was taking the bus to school, and there were this older couple crossing the street, and they were Hispanics, and the bus had to wait for them to cross the street, otherwise he would have hit them, and they were very elderly, so they had walked very slowly. So then the bus driver said, "Those damn Mexicans, why don't they all go back to Mexico, or go back where they came from?" And I said, that really, I really have to get upset about something before I really speak out. So I said, "What do you mean, go back to Mexico?" I said, "We belong in this country." I said, "We were here before you were." And he looked at me so strange, and he turned around and he said, "Oh, this gutsy gal, she's got the nerve just to talk back to me." So everyone in the bus heard me. So when I sat down, they were all staring at me, and I thought, "Oh, well, I don't care." I said, I don't think that remark was not necessary. So then I realized just how prejudiced they were, against Mexicans. It wasn't until I was exposed to this, that I realized that there really was a lot of discrimination in San Antonio. And I'll never forget it was even as late as late 40s and 50s. Then we were living in New York, and we came home to visit our parents during vacation. And Ronnie, my son, was I guess he was about 4 years old. He already knew how to read, little simple words, women, men, and ladies, and that sort of thing. And we were shopping in one of the stores, I guess it was Sears or Penny's. I was looking at some things for him, and he came up to me and says, "Mom, I've got to go to the restroom. So the salesman says, there's the restroom. He says, we'll wait for you right here. So I said, oh, you go ahead and go. So then he came back running and he says, Mom, which restroom do I go to? One says colored and the other one says white. See, he had never been exposed to that. And that day I decided I will never come back to San Antonio to live. I said, because if that's the kind of discrimination they still have, I said, I don't want my son to be a part of it at all. So I never came back until after we retired and after things were I took off until later. Yeah.
Es el tiempo para empezar mi plan. Finalmente tengo la oportunidad. Tengo fe en mi habilidad. No puedo esperar a mi futuro ya. El tiempo es ahora, no voy a fallar. Tengo la mente de un combatiente.
This collection was made possible by a grant from Florida Atlantic University's Department of Sponsored Research. We'd like to thank FAU for their assistance in bringing this project to completion.
Oh,